Welcome to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. I'm your host, Bob Simon. We're talking AI today, and we have on part two. We're probably going to have multiple parts of bot mediation. Welcome, fellas.
Thank you. Great to be back. Thanks for having us, Bob.
Curtis, Darren. So watch the episode about a month ago that we shot it. We're going to show you how quickly things evolve in just 3 or 4 weeks, and how sophisticated the AI is going. We're going to talk on this episode about some big industry users that are going to start using the platform, that have started using it, and some real-time mediations and metrics that are going on with bot mediation.
Awesome.
You ready?
Yeah,
I think we're ready.
let's do this.
Let's talk.
Let's do this. So yeah, really appreciate having us back here. It's been a hectic pace. I'll start with just sort of the big event that we got back from. We were privileged to be part of the Startup Alley. So that went down about 2 weeks ago out there in Chicago.
ABA Tech Show.
You got it, ABA Tech Show. So obviously Clio, Jack Newton's rodeo out there. But just great opportunity to, mix and mingle with other, innovators, founders, lots of amazing new technologies that we put eyes on. Nothing akin to ADR, dispute resolution via AI, which was interesting, but really made us stand out and just drove a lot of activity and interest and intrigue among the attendees at that conference.
Were there any other quote unquote competitors in your space? 'Cause I've never seen any other.
We're with you. No one was there showing off anything related to mediation. So as much as there was a lot of AI and technology, I mean, to some extent, I guess we do AI and technology, but really nothing on the mediation front.
Wow.
So right now we're happy to be where we're at.
The pioneers of resolving cases.
That's it.
We were talking off air about this, how the process is so slow that it makes litigation last so much longer, even to get into litigation, because the parties just don't talk or don't have that opportunity to resolve cases, usually quickly. Have you found that use case in bot mediation, where people reaching out to you to do things before a lawsuit's filed?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. Bot mediation I view as sort of like a middle of the road solution, for lack of a better term. So one extreme is to have a human mediator, a lot of delay, very expensive. The other extreme would be just picking up the phone or an asynchronous, ODR solution. So, you put in a number, a day later, I see it, I put in a number. You've seen some court systems, very basic, landlord-tenant resolution platforms, really, really basic systems. So, bot mediation is designed to go like right down the middle of the road. It's admittedly not as textured as dealing with a human being, but it is light years ahead of any other ODR solution. And so we think that the use case for pre-lit is very strong, and even for post-lit early on, before the incursion of a lot of time, a lot of expense in a litigation. It's just a great way to get people in a safe space to potentially resolve a case or narrow the dispute, and then maybe you go to a live mediation. So I view it as a complementary tool to conventional mediation, as opposed to something that would ever displace the talent of live and human mediators.
Yeah. So Darren, what's been new in the past? I know you guys went to the ABA Tech Show. I'm sure you guys have a massive travel schedule, like the Victory Tour, right? The education tour. So in the last month, what's evolved?
I mean, I think it's been a continued race on the tech stack. I mean, we're continuing to evolve the bot and what it can do in terms of features. Curtis, you want to talk about the latest on the feature front?
Sure. I'll rattle them off, and I should probably start by explaining it was inspired by lawyers just like you, Bob. So Bob was probably one of the very first practitioners to actually put his hands on the wheel.
You know what I'm going to call out right now? Keith Bremer, you're going to come in here as a defense lawyer, and we're going to run a real mediation through here.
Let's battle.
We'll do it online, man. We'll have the battle. It'll be, Bremer versus Simon.
There we go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We'll book it.
Let's get it on. But yeah, Bob, you were one of the very first that ever put eyes on the product, and we were, pretty diligent about capturing in notes what important people said about the product. So our work, just began after that meeting with you, and we went, around town, top plaintiff lawyers, top defense lawyers, injury lawyers, and employment lawyers, and mediators. And so we took as many notes as we could. And in terms of the features that we built, which I'll rattle off in a minute, they're really, sort of funneled by Darren. So we took all sorts of comments. There were probably 2 or 3 dozen. And Darren categorized them like nice to have to have. And the have to have were, if we heard Bob say this and we heard Brian Easton say this and we heard Rahul say this.
But you have to listen to your customers. A lot of people don't take the time just to ask, how can we help you? And
well, that's the big part about building technology. Yes. You don't have someone in mind that is going to be a user giving you feedback, whether you're building that in-house or whether you just have a lot of partners you've aligned with. It's really hard to deliver something people will use. So that's a big driver in how we've approached this.
I love it. So let's go over the new stuff.
Sure. One of the things that came out at us over and over again was, hey, when I go into mediation, one of the first things I'm looking for is some guidance about where I should start from the plaintiff side. And that made a lot of sense because I've been in mediation many times. And yes, I'm sort of trying to feel out. I'm thinking, 300, is that going to spook the defense? Is that, leaving too much money on the table if it's a strong claim? And a mediator can be very valuable in giving you a little intel on where you should start. So we built in an AI-generated demand range, which the lawyers, a big law firm, saw the product yesterday, and right off the bat, she really, liked it.
When you have, I love that, but where are you deriving that data from, that range?
Yes, great question. I will answer it in a way
you don't have to tell us exactly. It's proprietary.
Exactly. We don't want to. We're the patent. We're moving forward on that. We're filed, but we will share with you.
The basics are that the system ingests case-specific information, and a mediator puts eyes on that case and will provide a demand range. That is the only involvement of a human mediator. After that, it is pure AI in terms of the session, Bob, and it is also AI in terms of that demand range, but it's not overbearing.
Yeah.
So you can disregard it.
You always, you have that human. It's just like if you go to mediation with a mediator, the value of the mediator is usually, I know the space, I know the general value of the case, and that's what the value add usually is of that mediator. But through repetitions,
we'll continue to hone our database and our data set.
Exactly.
But we've had conversations with some carriers, and the carriers have been pretty clear that they do want a human involved. Like straight AI at this point probably doesn't check their box. But we'll get there.
You'll get there.
It's coming.
Yeah, with bot mediation, though, is like if you have the mediator that's so sophisticated and knows every practice area, knows general value because they've seen it so many times, that's extreme. That's what it is.
That's the super valuable part of their involvement. I mean, at the end of the day, Curtis has said this at least a few times now, but really the most valuable piece that the media brings to the puzzle is having a good sense of what this thing's worth. And at the end of the day, they'll listen to both sides, but they're still going to try to drive them to some endpoint, and it's going to be in some range.
And so does it factor in things like what is the policy limit or what are the actual,
all of that's looked at.
Yeah.
100%. Yes, Bob. All of that is ingested into the system.
I love it. I love the plaintiff range, the opening demand range.
Factored in, and it's like a heat map. So sort of green, yellow, orange, red. So you get towards red if you get a little too greedy. But if you're in the green range, that tells you like you greatly improve the chance of a settlement. But again, you can override it, ignore it. You can be belligerent, and we've seen plenty of it. So that feature was recommended long before it was built, and so we built that into the more recent version. Another feature add, which was basically building an entirely new piece of software, I would call it like an epic build attribute, was bracketing. Extremely intricate, and you don't know when it's going to jump out at you, but it took layers and layers and layers of requirements and then coding and then sitting on dev long before it was pushed into the production version of our software. And it was just fairly recently pushed through into production. So you just don't know when it's going to jump out at you. But as you know, brackets are normally designed to sort of break elbows of a party who really just comes out unreasonably from the get-go, and or they just dig their heels in and just won't move. So if a defendant is like 0, and then in a case with broken bones is still like offering 4-digit money, they're going to start getting a bracket. And so it's really cool. when the
Yeah, and for
brackets
those who are
come out.
watching or listening, a bracket in mediation is whenever, say, the plaintiff side, I'll say, all right, if I will go to 5 million if they go to 1 million.
Right.
And then usually people read between the lines that if that midpoint of what you want is where you want to resolve the case, then usually the defense will say, no, my bracket is $500,000 to 1.5 million. Right. And if you get there, then all of a sudden, it's, okay, so there's a range here, right?
Right.
And then if you, usually that's 4 or 5 steps in the mediation for me generally is when you start to get to those brackets. I don't like to rush to a bracket. So I like it pops up if somebody's being really unreasonable. You have to, all right, let's try something else here.
That's how it kicks in.
I love that.
Yes, and that's something you haven't seen because it's a much later, build on, and that was multiple layers, trial and error. Because at first, you could appreciate this from a UX UI perspective. We're constantly trying to think about how do we take what now is 15 keystrokes and turn it into 5? How do we take 5 keystrokes and turn it into a button? So we're always trying to like funnel down and simplify the user experience as much as possible for simplicity, to eliminate possibility of error. And so the initial version of brackets, like you would type in sort of your high and your low. And we're like, well, this is pretty cumbersome. So the later iteration of it is we had the bracket appear now as a slider. And as you take the high, you can just drag it down. You could take the low end of the proposed bracket, slide it up, and the midpoint of the bracket will constantly recalculate as you move.
Wow, I love
sliders.
that. No more hand math.
No, none.
It's like it's so gamified. This sounds like fun. It's
is.
like you want to do it.
That's our goal. Keep it fun.
is.
I mean, you mentioned like there will still be guys out there with their notepads and cranking away, but we've got the tracking on there, so you can kind of see see a chart that'll bring up what the past bids have been, and you can see where that midpoint's moving, and you can keep an eye on where you want to land it. So that's another one of the tools that we've added to it for specifically that reason, because people are like, oh, I'm going to be doing all this math. On the
How
side.
close are we to having bot mediation be a button integrated with other platforms so you could just request bot mediation?
We've got, so
That's yours.
We're talking to several CRMs right now, so coming soon. But we'll give a nod. We're talking to, well, actually, rather than plenty favorites, all of them. We're talking to all of them.
Good. And then also, like I was thinking even on, Even Up comes to mind. You write the demand letter or, with Brian Easton's brother's product, that kind of stuff is when you send the demand, maybe give the adjuster the option to, here's your demand. You can also schedule a bot mediation.
So we're talking to Even Up. We're talking to Eve AI Demand Pro. I think it'll be a great solution for them to add into their process.
Yeah, because it's all about having the other side say yes. I think it's an easy yes for the plaintiff side of the Delta because we want to be efficient and cost effective and fast.
I mean,
Correct.
Both parties see it that way.
Correct. I've thought about it as a bracketed piece of text, Bob, at the end of a demand letter. Some cases you're not ready to make an overture towards a mediation. Some cases it's the time. So you could say yes or no, would I like to make an overture? So you could, if you click yes within the demand letter generator, you could have a paragraph. Although reasonable minds can differ about the value of a claim, we're open to mediation, and an expedited, cost-effective method would be bot mediation. Click here if you'd like to explore it.
Love
so
it.
it would be built into the demand letter, but then the sort of the give and take on that, which would be nice, is as of right now, the demand letter generators are at the mercy of self-report in terms of what claims are worth, right? They got to get on the phone, call you up and say, hey, Bob, you did a demand letter back in, 2023. How's that thing going? Did you settle it? How much, right? And then they take the self-report, and then hopefully they will be able to inform their system and start getting some intel on claim valuation, which I know is what they're all trying to do or proclaim to be doing. But the cool thing about bot is you have an indisputable settlement amount that could be pinged back to the CRM immediately. So we think that would really help them train and inform their demand letters. And eventually, just like we have a demand range suggestion at the beginning of our process for bot mediation, I think these demand writers could more intelligently have like a demand range suggestion to help the lawyers at the end of their demand letters.
Man, the power really is in the data, and now it's going to be all a lot more automated. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, just I mean, there's huge power of going into a mediation and knowing all those metrics. Now it's there for them.
And and the numbers aren't just self-reported. So that's a big part of it. Right? We say that the best data wins. I mean, this will be a case of the best data, especially if you know it's going to go mediate.
Wow. All right, so we talked about 2 of the new features.
Yes.
Brackets. We talked about the plaintiff suggested range whenever they go in.
Correct. Some bid tracking. So every time you make a bid as a plaintiff, defendant counters, that midpoint is constantly tracked through. I would say a fourth feature upgrade is the mediator's proposal. That was also a bit clunky. We knew we wanted to do it. We've all been involved in a mediator's proposal at some point or another. But the question was, can we inform the system to know when to suggest a mediator proposal, because it's not always appropriate in every case? And if so, can we figure out a way to target a number, to pick a number based on AI that is well calculated to produce or likely produce a settlement? And then on top of it, how do we build a system that is double blind, which is critical, because it just doesn't work if you telegraph to the other opposing side what your inclination is. So it was multiple layers of logic we had to work through to do it right, to do it just like your experience in a mediation.
And a mediator's proposal is usually with a mediation phase, it doesn't resolve. The mediator is the last chance, does what's called a mediator's proposal that either side can accept or reject. Right. But if both sides accept, you have an agreement. If one accepts and one rejects, you do not.
Right.
Correct.
But they're not. But both say no. There's obviously nothing. But the other side doesn't know. So if I say no, I don't know if the other side said yes or no.
Correct.
But if I said yes, and we don't have an agreement, I know the other side said no.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. But it's in that event, it's harmless.
Yeah. But in reality, with a human being mediator, is they have reputations, they have egos.
Sure.
They never like to make a mediator's proposal that they don't think will get the case resolved.
That's right.
Right? I think bot mediation can solve that because they're doing it just based on data, and it won't hurt their feelings.
No hurt feelings in a bot mediation. Yeah. I mean, both parties will feel like they got a deal. Whether they love it or not, they got a deal.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
That's feature number 4.
More features?
I think
we've
the other.
been busy.
I think
Apparently we've been busier.
It's only been 4 weeks. You guys.
I know. Right?
I think the other 1 or 2 are actually what I would call under the hood, Bob. So
right.
there are things that are built into the admin panel that I think will improve the user experience, even though you can't see it. So one has to do with the flexibility, the algorithmic flexibility based on case type. So originally, algorithm was built, it was broken and rebuilt into the system, and it was basically hardwired in. But that's been sort of torn down and built back up in the admin panel. So now we have the ability to program in case-specific algorithms, which I think is really cool, because I think ultimately we're going to prove that the dynamic, the dance, if you will, on an employment case is a little bit different than a PI case. An employment case may be a waltz, and a PI case might be hip hop. So
and also, and different laws too affect different states or different things, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So is bot mediation available for all states?
Right now, just California.
Yeah, because it's a different animal. Once you start going to other states that have different PI laws,
correct,
or employment laws.
Well, it's less the laws. It's more about being ready with a base of mediators that we can kind of leverage into that, that first round, that first data grab for us.
Oh, I love it.
So but that being said, we're getting requests. So we've got some booked for May. So next time we see you, we'll definitely be able to.
I know it's.
I know.
It'll be like weeks later. We're in 50 states, 6 continents.
We just raised, big Series A. Now we'll see what happens. And
we have a box.
Let's see what's in the box. We always bring something fun.
Right. Let's check it out.
Well, that's just for fun.
These are mints.
That's because if you have what's in the box, you might need the mints.
What's in the box? I love this.
Let's see what's in the box.
I don't even know what's in the box.
I haven't looked in a while, so let's see what we got. Oh, this one is the.
Oh, Willet! I love the.
This one's the smooth mediator.
The smooth mediator. Oh, the rye whiskey. Look at this 2-ounce rye whiskey, some sweet vermouth. I'm very much into this. Oh boy, I love Willet. Have you guys ever had this one?
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, this is They have a big. Willet does a pot still one. You ever see? It's like
okay.
It has a big fat barrel bottom. It has a big like
Yeah.
top to it, and for some reason the pot still whiskey gets me fucked up. But Willet, like they have an 8-year rye. That one is one of my favorite ones.
Awesome.
This one's a mixing cocktail, so enjoy. We'll see what comes next time.
Mediator.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, uncork that one after you do a live mediation.
Yes,
and you
our mate.
give us
Doring.
the good, the bad, and the
Doring.
ugly.
Yeah, hopefully
Yes.
next time we do this, I would like to do a live one for our audience.
Let's do
just
it.
To,
I mean, even if we just have a fun battle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because we don't want to jeopardize any client information.
Yes.
We'll just set you guys up with a fact set and let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bremer
so
versus Simon.
let's see if we can get Keith Bremer down here. We'll make a fake case, but like generally know probably where we think, whatever. It'll be fun, but I want to do it live. We'll do it live.
Yes.
And then record around it while we do it.
Let's go for
be
it. I think
awesome.
we have a blast.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm excited to see where this goes again. I'm excited to drink the smooth mediator tonight.
There you go.
But I mean, how do guys reach out to you again? Just botmediation.com.
That's the easiest place. You can find us on LinkedIn, obviously, but botmediation.com. You can find us. You can book a mediation. You can check out and get a demo. So, yeah, we'd like to hear from everyone.
Love it. Well, thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. Go to justiceteamnetwork.com, go to botmediation.com, and, resolve some disputes. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.